Yes, welcome you all back to our YouTube channel Science is Life. In the previous videos, we explained you input-output functions, if-else statements, loops in details. So if you like to watch those videos, I have attached the links in the description bar. And if you like our YouTube channel, subscribe us and give a thumbs up. If you want to be notified our video updates, just hit the bell icon. Okay, so let's get started. So in today's lesson, we hope to discuss how to use switch cases in C programming. So let's see how the switch case statements looks like. So here you can see we mention first of all we mention switch all in simple letters, right? After mentioning switch, we open a brackets. Within this parenthesis, we mention an expression, or directly within this parenthesis we can mention an integer or a character or a enumeration constant, right? So if you don't mention these things directly within this parenthesis, then you can indirectly mention these things via an expression, right? So you can use an expression which finally gives us an output which may be an integer or a character or an enumeration constant, right? So if you don't know what are these enumeration constants, don't be afraid. I'll do a separate video for enums. So for now, think that this expression can be an integer or a character, right? So if this expression is an integer, then you can see there are lots of cases you can mention, right? So after this expression, after this bracket closing, you can open a curly brackets, right? And also closing curly brackets. So when we start in these curly brackets and end in these curly brackets, you can say that this is the block structure of our switch, right? This is the block structure of our switch. Within this block structure, we mention cases, right? So you can have any number of cases within a switch, and also you can have any number of statements within a specific case, right? So what are these cases? We begin these cases by mentioning the keyword case, right? Then after that we put a space and mention an integer or a character, right? So if our expression gives us an integer, then we should mention an integer here. You can't mention character here, right? So if expression gives you a character, then you should mention a character here, right? So the data type of case and the expression should be compatible with each other, right? So after mentioning the specific case, we end it by a colon, right? That statement. Then after that we should mention each and every statement. There may be lots of statements or few statements. Any number of statements you can mention within a case, right? After that, here I have mentioned break. This break keyword plays a major role in here, right? This break, if we mention a break, then it will terminate current switch, right? So you will see later how important is this break keyword, right? If we don't use break, then we have to face lots of problems in these switch cases, right? If it is not included, then all cases will execute along with the true case, right? You will see what is the meaning of this thing, right? And I told you switch label should be these are the switch labels, right? These should be integer, character, enumeration. And also one thing I couldn't mention you, that these switch labels should be unique from each other, right? You can't mention the same switch label again, right? you can have only one switch label from one character, right? You can't repeat same switch labels, right? Each label should be unique from each other. After that, I have mentioned default, right? This default also very important in switch cases. You will see why these are important, right? In the default is also like a case, right? This is optional. If you don't want, you can ignore this if default case, but you may realize that it is very important to mention, right? It will works as else part in if else conditions, right? This default works when there are no matches for these cases. Then default will be executed. I'll explain you by an example. So let's move to an example. So here I have written a very simple example here to explain you how the switch cases are working in C. So first of all, I am creating a variable, integer variable as num. Then I am printing a message to the user enter an integer using printf function, right? After executing this function, I need to take I am going to take the input from user, right? So I am allowing user to input a value, and I am taking it as I am taking that I am hoping to have integer value from the user. Then if the user input integer value, then I am going to assign it into my number variable, right? Then I am going to start my switch case. So what should I do? First I should mention switch, then I open the parenthesis. Within the parenthesis I told you that we should mention an expression or something finally gives us an integer or a character or an enumeration constant, right? So here I am mentioning a variable. What kind of variable? It is an integer, right? So my variable is integer. That means I have mentioning here an integer, right? So this variable can be any value, right? I don't know what will happen. I don't know what will input by the user, right? So this number is a variable, but I am using few cases, right? These are like if else statement. This case 1 means if my number is equal to 1, right? Case 1 means if the number variable is equal to 1. Then what is the meaning of case 2? That means if my number is equal to 2, right? Then case 3 means if my number is equal to 3. Likewise, you can use any number of cases in this switch, right? So if my case is number is equal to 1, then I need to printf. So I am going to print I am 1, right? Then if my case 2, in my case 2, if my number is equal to 2, then I am going to print I am 2. Then if my case is, if my number is equal to 3, then I am going to print I am 3. So you may think what will happen if the num is not equal to 1, 2 or 3. Yes, that is why we need default case. I told you default is really important. Default case means that if all these cases are not happen, I mean if the user input rather than any value except these values, right? Then we need to use default. Then I need to print I am an integer but not either 1, 2 and 3, right? That is I need default. There may be cases that the user input or anything not matching with these cases, right? So we need to have a default case to act in such cases, right? So let's see what will happen after running this code, right? My message enter and integer is displaying here, so I am putting 3, then it shows I am 3. I'll run it again, I'll put 1, it is showing I am 1. Then I'll put a different value from 1 to 3. I'll give 5, right? Then these cases are not executing, right? Each of these cases are not executing, then default case is executing. So it shows me I am an integer but not either 1, 2 and 3, right? So let's see what will happen if we don't use break statements. I'll delete all breaks here, then I'll run this program and I'll put 2. Then what will happen? My case 2 is true, right? Case 2 is true, then it prints I am 2. After that, all cases are executing. I am 2 is here, then I am 3 is here, then I am an integer but not either 1 and 2, 3. So that what has happened here? Case 2 is true, then it is printing, then all the cases after this case are executing, right? You will realize how this will happen. I'll explain you this thing through a flow chart, right? So if we use break, then after executing the true case, it jumps outside of the switch case, right? That is why we need break statement in each of these, after each of these cases, right? If we don't use break statement, then if we have any true case, then after all cases will execute, right? So that is why we need break statement. So this is the structure chart how switch cases are executing, right? So we know that we need to mention an expression within the parentheses of switch, then that expression should gives us an integer or constant, right? So after that, within the block structure we mention each cases, right? So after looking the expression of this switch case, if the expression gives an integer, then compiler hopes to have cases including integers, right? Integer cases are hoping. If the expression gives a character, then the compiler hopes to have character cases, right? You will see a few examples later. So then compiler will comes near to the first case, right? Then check whether this case label is compatible with the expression, and if the label is equal to the expression, that means our expression is also 1 and our case 1, if we mention case 1, then it is equal to the expression, right? Compiler is looking for a similar case for this expression, right? That is what the compiler does. If the first case is similar to the expression, then it is equal, then it goes inside this case, right? It goes inside the case and execute each and every statements within this case, right? Then compiler will check whether there is a break. If we mention a break, then the compiler goes outside of this switch, it breaks the switch, right? Then it ends the switch, right? If we doesn't mention a break there, then the compiler will not see whether the cases are similar to the expression. Without looking the case, it automatically goes to the codes within the next cases, and all the codes will executed, right? If there are no breaks, all the cases statements will be executed one after another, right? So you can see break statements is really important, right? Because we need to execute only the case that is similar to the expression, right? That is why we use break, right? If the first case is not equal to this expression, then it doesn't go inside the code, then it check the second case, right? If the second case is similar to the expression, it will go inside the code, or otherwise if it is not equal, likewise it is looking for a similar case for the expression, right? It looks a case similar to the expression. If the compiler couldn't find any case similar to this expression, then we need to have a default, right? If we mention a default, and if there are no such cases similar to this expression, then it will execute the codes within default, right? So that is why default is also important. So let's see few examples. Okay, so here I have written a code which use character cases, right? So as I did before, I am creating a here should be char, right? So I am creating a character which is character variable which is named as ch, right? Then I am printing a message to see user enter a character. Then after that I am allowing the user to input character, right? Then I am putting that variable inside this switch. So what is the data type of my variable now? It is character, right? So what does the compiler hoping to have cases? It hope to have character cases, right? So I need to mention character cases. So here it may be a case including character A or character B or character F, or likewise you can mention any case. Then if the case is true, then I need to print I am A for the case A. Then I am putting break. You know why I am putting break, right? If I don't put break, then if this case is true, then after executing this case, all the cases after that will be executed. So that is not correct, so that is why I am putting break here. Then in case B, I need to print B, then I need to break. If it is correct, I need to break this switch. If my case F is true, then I need to print F. If it is after executing, I need to break the switch, right? If these any cases will not be, if any of these cases will not be true, then I need to have a default case to print I am a character but not either A, B, C and C, right? So let's see how this will run. I'll put B, then it is printing B, right? So remember the very important thing here, that you can use integer or character only within this switch, right? You can't use floats or anything, right? Only you can use integer and character, even though you can't use strings also, right? Only integer or character. And also you can use nested switch cases, as we used before, as a nested for loops, nested if else. Also we can use nested switch cases too, right? So how to use nested switch cases? So here this is my main switch case in orange color. You can see this is my main switch case. So I am putting an expression here, and there may be several cases. Within a particular case I need to have another switch case, right? So there may be several statements in this case. So within these statements I can mention a separate sub switch case, right? So I am creating another switch. Within this I am going to mention another inner expression, right? So there may be several cases also, right? Likewise you can have so many nested switch cases as you wish, right? Okay, that's all for today lesson. So I hope you all learn how to use switch cases in programming. So let's meet with another video. Then see you soon. Thank you.